everybody. So I don't know whose IP address this is, but y'all have it. Cool. I think it's Nathan's. Oh, sorry. So hey, I'm Chris Short. I used to live in Raleigh. I live in Detroit. It's awesome. I love it there. I didn't know if I would or wouldn't, but I'm good. So here's kind of what I do in my free time, what little I have of it. I work for Bankrate. We're helping people find better rates on their mortgages and everything. I write a newsletter called DevOps-ish. It's kind of DevOpsy, it's kind of just open sourcey. And I do a lot of writing for opensource.com. And we're actually launching a new initiative there for DevOps stories. So if you're interested, you want to write for opensource.com, have a story to tell, could be anything. We have a lot of available roles there. Head to opensource.com/DevOps-team. Shout out there. So as I mentioned, I moved to Detroit. Don't knock Detroit. These are pictures I've taken in the past 2 months since I've been there. It's awesome. So true story. Last year, I attended this DevOpsDays, and I spoke at DevOpsDays Detroit. Now I live in Detroit, and I'm speaking here. Moral of the story is, be careful when you speak at your first DevOpsDays. You'll probably end up living there. This is all downtown Detroit, near my office there. It's going through a big revitalization, so the blight is like so 2000s. We're in the 20-teens now, this is it. So enough of that. Let's talk about what we're all here to see. Star Wars pictures, right? Like everybody's about that. So DevOps, there is a dark side to it, right? Like it's pretty much failure. We embrace it, we like it. But then the darker dark side, like the Darth Vader side, like I'm gonna kill your family and murder villagers and stuff. That's like complete abject failure in DevOps. Failed transitions, failed transformations. It's not all roses and rainbows and unicorns. Eventually you're gonna get something that just doesn't work. You're gonna go to a place, you're gonna fail. It happens. So let's talk about a couple failures of mine. They're very real stories from my past. So if you're here, kind of a disclaimer, and these stories sound familiar, keep that to yourself, or you can talk about it if you want. I'll leave that up to the members in the audience. But 2 stories. Let's get started. The first one, Ops Mutiny. So Dev, Ops, got a story about both and how failed transformations have occurred. A little backstory. Before I got to this company, the dev teams were adopting DevOps practices, right? Agile, left to right flow, getting all the good things going. However, the IT team was a bunch of, no offense, old school Windows sysadmins, VMware type people. They didn't necessarily want to adopt these new things because why change, right? That's the hardest part of DevOps, is getting humans to change. So they were actively resisting DevOps. Full-on mutiny took place. Majority of the IT people walked out like one day. All of them but 2 left the company, like in protest, en masse. So what happened? Well, they had to hire people. They hired me. Might not have been a good idea, might have been a good idea, we'll see. But the tribal knowledge was resting with 2 people. So, and they weren't happy about the change, but they were, semi-embracing it. So in comes a younger Chris Short. Maybe not that young. That's long, long ago in a galaxy far away. The idea for me was to join as like an operations lead and come in and facilitate change and drive change. I kind of feel like I should have used like the young Ewan McGregor for this picture, but episode 1. Let's not go there. So get there, week 1. Determine there's 0 formal processes. Nothing was standardized. So I get there, here's your desk. Welcome to the company. Second day. We're gonna move you over here now. Oh, you need a phone to make phone calls? No, we're not gonna give you that. Okay, great, cool, whatever. Had a loaner laptop. It's like, wait, this is a loaner. Like, what's up? You can't buy a computer? Oh, well, we just got acquired, so buying things are hard. Y'all got acquired for $1 billion. How y'all not have money? I mean, come on. What the heck? So, okay, fine, cool, whatever, I'll deal with this for now. Hey, we need you to do this compliance training your first week. Get done with the compliance training, turn it into a compliance officer. Hey, can I get my accounts and access to everything now? Oh, you didn't need to do any of this. Okay, cool, well, I just got a week of pay for doing CDDs all day, awesome. I never really got access to do anything that, drove me towards like the goals I was there to accomplish. All right, cool. So let's, continue down the road here. We're going to do this big architecture review. Let's just say a big company bought us, and they've bought many big companies in the past for large sums of money. So they've been down this road before. They're like, hey, come in. We're going to send our team in. We're going to review all your architecture, see what happens. What would you do? What's the oldest OS you think would be in an infrastructure? This is like 2015, 2014. It's a Windows shop, so you get that one free. 3.1? Oh, that's the other one. I still have it on floppy somewhere, but no, it wasn't 3.1. It was actively in production, Windows NT 4 in 2015. Yeah, wow. Wow was right. Windows NT 4. Yeah, still DOS. That tells you something. But, that was cool, right? Like, we couldn't make changes based off some, things, business reasons or whatever. All right, fine. They actually had it running a VM, which I thought was kind of impressive. But, the justification for having it was, well, getting it recertified for what we're using it for would take a really long time. It would affect our customers, so we're just not going to change it, right? We can change the underlying infrastructure. We're not going to change the actual OS. So what we'll do is we'll put something on our EULA that says, oh, you can't store customer data on here. So when some government entity comes by and says, what is this thing? It still makes that crazy Windows 95 boot noise when you turn it on. Oh, well, they're not supposed to store customer data on it. It's in our EULA. Like, that was the coverage. Using Windows NT 4 because of one line, very long thing that none of our customers read. All right, cool. So, then I started poking around the network. Hey, what kind of stuff do you guys have? What's on here? Nmap, my favorite tool. Hey, use it on that IP, it's pretty cool. So I was told, hey, stop nmapping the network. Stop port scanning. Stop figuring out what OSs are out there. Stop figuring out where infrastructure is. Stop trying to make a diagram. Okay, why? Well, you're putting too much load on the network. It's a laptop. I'm not connected on ATM or something, right? Like, this isn't a OC192 on this Wi-Fi I'm on. Like, too much load on the network, it's one device. Like, I can generate more load from my iPhone streaming music than I'm generating right now. Like, so the mutiny was like full on, and the staff was actively involved in trying to stop people. So I knew I was being watched, right? Like, people knew what I was doing. Great. All right. So they did have lofty goals, and they probably have executed on those goals. Hopefully. A very ambitious plan. Our flagship product, our new hotness, right? This is going to drive the company for the next decade. We're going to put it in the cloud. The big, fluffy cloud. Cool, right? We're going to do that, right? No, we'll bring in a third-party vendor that'll help us out. That's where the $1 billion went. Got it. So, the idea was bring in the vendor that'll help us migrate. We have some internal knowledge, they have some domain experience in cloud, and we'll just get everything going. It'll be fine, and then they'll hand it off. Turns out they were doing more and more work. They were doing any handoff because no one could take it. No one wanted it. Well, I can see this is going to go great. All right, so the team was going to continue the resistance. They were actively, still in kind of this phase of mutiny. Fine. It's just got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. So shortly before our U.S. holiday, I said, enough. After 3 weeks of being employed here, I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice. 5 weeks total at this company. It was awful. Not being at the company, but the response when I put in my notice. Oh, well, Chris, no, you can't leave. You're here to save us. You're going to take over the galaxy. Rule. It's going to be great. You can't actually quit. What do you want us to do? Let me leave. Like, get me out of this meeting right now? That'd be great. Like, what did you have in mind? This is the VP of Research and Development and my manager. Well, tell you what. Snowing outside, if you want any indication of what major U.S. holiday it was. Big shopping season. It was a week before that. They're like, we'll fire the 2 guys today. My dad was an HR director. You don't fire people before Christmas. That's cold. That's like heartless. So, okay, no, I don't want to work for you anymore for sure. Like, I'm done. I'm out. Like, it's over. Done. Like, I actually said that. Like, stop trying to get me to stay. I'm not. No. So, good luck on your failing DevOps transformation. I'm not going to be a part of it, right? Like, the company that acquired you is going to come in here and maybe kill us all. Who knows, right? Like, Death Star us. Who knows? Like, just scoop it up and done. So, I was not morally okay, like, bankrupting myself for DevOps. So, I left and immediately jumped into the developer rebellion. This was actually kind of cool, right? Like, so, the idea of developers rebelling against ops, kind of cool, right? Like, hey, that's awesome. Let's make movies about that. Oh, someone did already. And they're remaking them. So, you know, high hopes. They convinced me. Like, it was a good organization, right? Like, we're gonna make change. We're gonna do good for humanity. Pulling out, you know, those emotional things. Like, we're gonna make the world a better place. And they were doing it, right? Like, they had some cool stuff. It was out there actually helping people. Some really smart people working for them. Some of them are here. But it was like a full-blown, like, DevOps rebellion against this big, stodgy, monolithic, compliance IT like environment. I was like, this is gonna be awesome. I love a good rebellion. Oh yeah, let's get it. So I had IOs, right? Team was using cloud native tools. Docker, pulled in some stuff for paper trail, used Postgres, used Slack for communication, like all these things that weren't approved, they were just doing it. Who was gonna stop them? CTO said cloud was prohibited. You will not use AWS, you will not do this, you will not do that. Like, I'm in this meeting with this guy, and I'm like, so you're gonna give me APIs, right? What's an API? What's an API? Like, I need to be able to spin up infrastructure, I just want to make an API call. Like, that's what we're trying to do. Oh. Like, he had like a light switch went off kind of thing. And, you know, slow, stodgy infrastructure kind of person. He came around slowly, very, very slowly. Took weeks or months to get a VM, right? Like, DNS changes took days, maybe weeks. Like, I need to change this a record to went from this thing to this thing. No, you're from in 2 weeks. That's not hard. That's literally that. You change that. So the team was going to say, all right, fine. We're going to use Heroku as our pass, right? We're just going to use this. It'll be fine. All our customer data will be internal, just to make you all feel safe. And here's all this paperwork we have to fill out to like make this happen. So they filled out all the paperwork. They said, Heroku, we're going to use cloud. Okay, compliance person here. Okay, governance person here. Okay, every person down the chain signed off on it, including the CTO. Did you not read the document? We're in the cloud now. You said no. Your processes are screwed. They suck. We did it anyway, and we went through your process. It was so crafty. It was gangster. Like, sure, you can get us all fired, but we're going to do it anyway. Just to prove a point, right? Like, they were following ITIL as a book, like a handbook. You can't do that, right? Like, it's just going to grind your organization to a halt. You can't put this ITIL death grip on us. It's not going to work. Everybody signed off. We're spinning up infrastructure in the cloud. We're putting logs in the cloud. We're storing everything internally. Cat was out of the bag. Cloud is okay. They couldn't put that back in. It would take months of work. It'd take a long time to just get the VMs. All right, cool. So what are you gonna do now? IT department changed a little bit. Started like saying, okay, fine. Let's bring in another company and see if we can build this infrastructure in-house. Timeline, 1 year. Okay, fine, you can't do OpenStack in a year. Cool. OpenStack's hard, I get it, but a year, come on. Anyways, so IT process was strict, we all get that. So they brought in another vendor that said, well, you know, we just layer on top of our existing like NetApp, VMware infrastructure, some of this stuff. Okay, give us some of the AWS console, the Google Cloud Compute console type functionality, put it in our environment. Okay, cool. Great. We're in the presentation, we're like, oh, we just request this VM and get it right then and there, like that was our biggest complaint. Awesome. But you gotta put it in a ticket to get that. So let me get this straight. I'm gonna write a command thing to put in a ticket, or you're gonna make me actually like hand jam stuff into a ticket. And the ticketing system is awful. If you work for ServiceNow, I don't like you. I'm sorry. You made my life hell for like 8 months. This field is required. What's the field? Room number. That is not germane to the discussion. This VM is not going to live in my office, right? Come on. What does that matter? Yeah. Jeez. So, you know, IT was like trying to remove some bottlenecks, but they were doing it in the bigger way, and it clearly wasn't like happening fast. And, you know, I got to this point where I realized like I had two choices. Do it their way, or continue rebelling. Okay, fine. I can maybe, you know, join them and ruin the galaxy together. Or I could, you know, not stagnate technologically, not, you know, stop continuously learning, and leave again. Yeah, well, you know, but okay, fine. Let's stick around a little longer. Let's see what it is. So the rebellion, like, it obviously worked, right? Like, they started talking about AWS. They started talking about Azure. Like, cool enough, Microsoft like hit all the compliance check marks that they need to hit. Like, they would just sign off on that because they knew that their stuff was good to go. They had approved infrastructure for the government. AWS had the same thing. So those approvals were like far beyond what we needed. So okay, you know, the death grip was loosened a little bit. The developers were winning, but it was still very much like a slow grinding process. And then some other things happened, and you know, decided to leave. But you know, last I heard, it still took a couple months to get a VM in one of their data centers. But they're using some cloud resources, so great, good for them. Like I at least had some modicum of impact. So like, what are the lessons learned? I actually saw somebody with this shirt yesterday. It's like, I don't remember who it was, but like DevOps Strikes Back shirt, like in the Star Wars logo, I need that in my life. I'm like, where'd you get it? Come to me after. So what did I learn from these two journeys? Aside from changing jobs is really easy here in Raleigh-Durham, you know, I mean, failure is good. Failure is good. The greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising up every time we fail. So learning from our mistakes and actually making change based off of them is healthy. So a mutiny and a rebellion might look like the same thing from opposing point of views. The rebellion was to, you know, change for the better, while the mutiny was to maintain the status quo. Well, we all know which one turned out better from my experience that I just told you. The rebellion change was good. Status quo was demoralizing. This is not to say like the ops people are bad or the devs are good. I'm not taking any sides here, you know, team ops, but whatever, I'm not taking sides. These jobs like prove to me that motivated teams can achieve their goals, whether they're good or bad. So put good goals and people that want to achieve them in front of you. I've learned that DevOps needs allies at all levels. Management, middle management, leadership. You know, that's all has to be part of the puzzle, where so does the engineer, the sysadmin, even like the person that's, you know, answering phones when everything breaks. They have to embrace this. They have to want automation. They have to want, you know, response that is good. People have to want to better their environments, period. This was like the saddest thing I ever saw in my life, by the way. I was a huge Han Solo fan. That scruffy looking nerf herder was my guy. So the Dev Rebellion had people at all levels pointing at successes the team was making. And it enforced change. It really did. The Ops Mutiny had a core group of people trying to cast off change, regardless of the outcomes. They didn't care. They wanted to just keep their job, period. They would put their job at risk to keep the job. It's kind of funny. Both were personal failures. I wasn't able to rally enough support in enough time to keep me from going crazy. So, yeah, I mean, it happens, right? This is the dark side of DevOps. Failure happens. Embrace it, learn from it, and move on. So, in conclusion, DevOps, you gotta have people, you gotta have processes, you gotta have tools, we all know that. Don't rest on your laurels. Always be learning. Always get your allies pushing the envelope. Never, ever, ever accept the status quo. And iterating and improving is what we do, and we should be doing it every day. Not just at work, but in our personal lives. Let's make this place better, period. Don't take care of yourselves out there. I hear there's a hurricane coming. I'm out tomorrow. Bye. Take it easy. Have a great day.